Now my dad died in 96. My mom was gone in 2005. Me and my siblings were like, we orphans. What's we gonna do? What is we gonna do? But whatever is instilled in you will come out when you say, Lord, I can't do this. What you want me to do? What? Lord, let me just grieve the loss of my mama. I just want to sit here from March until whenever I decide to get up and grieve the loss of my mama. He said no. He will put a fire, a constant spirit and talking like, no, I need you to do this.
There is so much beauty in the world. It's interesting because sometimes when you walk through life, when you go through your journey, life can get overwhelming. It can get daunting. It can just start to be relentlessly frustrating. And you need people around you to remind you of the most beautiful core principles of life. Someone to remind you to smile, to believe, or someone to let you know that even if a system is set up to keep you down, there's a God that was set up to lift you up and to help you overcome. And I'm so thankful that in my last few months of my life, I met the person that I'll be talking to today. This is the 5th time I've had a chance to sit down and speak to her. And one thing that I've learned is she's going to make you laugh. She's going to make you think, and then she's going to push you into your own greatness. It's not all the time that you sit with someone who is a radio personality, an author, a publicist, and that's like just a couple of the titles that she has, because she also does stuff in the corporate world, in education, and she's also manages people and just a little bit of everything. And yet, her humility, her class, and her grace make her approachable in every way possible. So today I'm excited to bring to you all, to introduce to some of you guys, or maybe for some of you, you're coming here because you already knew her and you wanted to hear what word she had to deliver today. But Miss Tanya White, welcome to Hope Rising.
Thank you, Cousin Maurice. How are you doing?
I am so good. I'm excited about this conversation. Now, what everybody doesn't know is that you and I had a chance to talk season 1, and we had some issues. We had some technical issues with our audio. And I was like, well, I'm not mad about bringing you on to have a second conversation anyway.
Yes, listen, whenever you need me, just call me, because I'm going to call you when I need you.
I know that's right. Now, listen, I want to give everybody the heads up before we get started. We are about to have an excellent conversation. If you haven't already, would you share this episode, whether you're watching on YouTube and you share your YouTube link, or if you're listening on the pod, wherever you listen to pods, would you share this episode? It's about to get real good, real fast. Also, I want to encourage you, if you haven't yet, make sure you are subscribed to Hope Rising. Leave your comments throughout the episode. We love that feedback. We love to hear what you're thinking. And what I'm thinking right now is, Tanya, I gave you an introduction, but how would you introduce yourself to the people, not just in what you do, but in who you are?
It is ironic because you used adjectives that I have always used to describe my mother, who was in heaven. When I think about femininity and who I am as a woman, I was that little girl just looking up, trying to mimic her because she was full of grace, humility. I get my smile from her, so she was always laughing. She had the cute little deep dimples on the side. I don't have those, but when you was saying that, I was like, wow, I've always wanted to be like my mother. And you didn't know those are the same exact adjectives I've used. Even I write about her. So I am humbled. I'm going to use those same adjectives because if it wasn't for my mother, Irma Jean English White, who is in heaven, I would not be the woman I am today. Um, just amazing woman, godly woman, Christian woman, mentor to all, church mother, whatever she was over, we were in, and all the kids loved her. It took me a while to understand because I was very territorial when it came to my parents. So when we was at church and they would call my mother mama, no, she's got 3 kids.
Yeah,
I
this
mean,
is my
stop.
mama, not your
Thank
mama.
you. And look, before you get saved, you not saved and you don't act saved. And that was that. But now that I understand the magnetic influence that she had, she was everybody's mom, and people felt comfortable around her and approachable. So I'm glad that you described me like that, cousin Maurice.
Yeah, we were talking right before we started filming about how we might as well be cousins now with the way we banter. And it's interesting because when you talk about how magnetic she is, I definitely think that is a similar quality that you have. And one thing that I love about you is when I called you humble, part of that. Now tell everybody who's listening today, how many books have you written so far?
So far, this year I released my 10th book.
Mm. So we're already on 10. I happen to have some intel that there's a number 11 already on the way.
Yes.
And so you have pumped out not just 10 books, but 10 books from the heart, from the soul, from the mind, 10 deep books. And what I've got to read so far has been so touching. And yet, whenever I see you in the circles that we move in, you're never talking about yourself. You're always pumping someone else. That you're always raising awareness. I see you raising awareness about me or posting something for somebody else. And I'm like, how has she done so much? And yet her heart is always towards everybody else.
Yes. I get it from my parents. For real. Both my mom and my dad were like that. My dad, his profession was he found people jobs. And so he was a employee supervisor at the state, finding people jobs, particularly African American people, well-paying jobs. And so what he did was the education and training and gave them the inside. He gave them the Ford, all those good factory jobs that we had in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. So, and then my mom, like I said, she was very involved in church, and her everything was for my parents was teaching, grooming, mentoring people to be their best self. And so, and also, not just pumping them up, put them on a pedestal, but really celebrating who you are, what you can accomplish, because that's what they did for us as their children and did for other people. And so I do the same thing. So because I really believe that the more you celebrate others and you cheer them on, um, you unleash a level of greatness that people did not really. Sometimes we know we have, but because the world beats us down so much that we're broken and we're bruised and we stop believing that we are enough, and then we have to find that. So I want to be to that person. I pray this every day. Lord, let people see you, hear you, feel you through me, because I don't know what they're coming from. And they may need love, they may need light and laughter, because I love to laugh, and allow me to bring that to their life. So I get it from my parents, and honestly, my whole family's like that. My aunts, they know us in the city. If they don't know all aunts, they know one aunt. One aunt is the advocate of everything. One's the nurse. One's the social butterfly. My mother was the educator and trainer and everything church. So yeah, so I come from a family just like that who celebrates others and really genuinely loves people and sees what they have to offer.
Here's the interesting thing. When my team and I sit down and look at our analytics, we find that the chances are that you, yes, I'm actually talking about you right now, that you are not subscribed to this channel. And so I just wanted to jump on and give you an official invitation. Would you please join us in subscribing to the channel? I'm so excited about the upcoming interviews that we have, some tremendous people, and I want to make sure that you don't miss it. This is going to give you an opportunity to get weekly inspiration that could take your leadership, take your organization, take your personal life to the next level. So would you go ahead and subscribe? And then don't keep this just to yourself. Would you share this episode with a friend, a family member, a coworker, an employee, someone who needs this weekly information? Let's get you into this week's episode. I love that so much. And one of the things that I know about you, not only because I've got a chance to join you on your radio show, but I've kind of peeked in there, and then I've peeked in on your podcast, and not only listened to when I've got a chance to join you, but some of the other great interviews that you've had, is that you are always really not only you're searching for diamonds in the rough. I know that about you. You're looking for the people with the potential, and you are shining a light on the best and the brightest that are up and coming. I guess my question right now is, there's somebody who's listening today, right? And they've always wanted to write a book, or they've got a message in their heart. They've got a word that God has put it within them. They've had a hard time pumping it out. I guess the first question is, how does a person begin to believe? How do they believe that they're worthy of writing that book, or that they can write that book? How do they start that book writing process?
First of all, this really will tell you, yes, I am enough. And this is one of my it's 2 series books. And I base it on Genesis 1:29 through 31, when the word says we are created in the image of God. And so we have the character of God. And so when I really studied that, and I was going through my slump, and so if we are created in the image of God, God lacks nothing. In the world, but the world would try to tell us you're not good enough. You're not intelligent enough. You can't do this, and tells you all your can'ts. But you have to change the narrative. Nobody's going to change that narrative for you. Nobody. They're not. You have to change that narrative, and you've got to find it within yourself. I'm going back to the little children's book, The Little Engine That Could. I think I can. I think I can. And even if you don't, I'm the first published author in my family, so I didn't have a template. I knew I loved to read and I loved to write. Then let me say this: I was the first official published author, but my parents wrote all the time. I believe, they wrote curriculum for church, they wrote curriculum and training programs for their jobs, and always doing speeches. But I'm the first published author. And it was not easy back in 2005 when I first started writing professionally. It was all about the traditional publishing houses. So self-publishing is not like it is today. It's very accessible. Back then it was not. And so I had to find people, not only in my city, it was 4 Black women, 4 of us, back in 2005.
In the whole city, that existed? You're saying there was only 4 Black women in the whole city?
That were self-publishing books.
And that were writing books, because I thought you were saying you was in a wasteland of Black people, like it was a Black people desert. That's what I thought we were.
Yes, it was of self-publishing. And so the ironic golly thing is that none of us knew that the other was writing a book. We didn't have social media back then. It was MySpace.
I remember those days. There was a lot of creepers on MySpace. That's what I remember about MySpace.
Yes. And we had Yahoo groups. And so it was nothing but God who orchestrated and allowed us to know what the other was doing. First, this was all our first books. So all of us are doing 4 separate things, trying to research self-publishing. How do we get our stuff to the market? And then it was just like boom, boom, boom. We all went to the same church and just happened to talk and found out, oh, you write a book. So we banded together to share our information and then help one another out. Also, I know I got a writing coach, and who was a writer herself, a published writer with Random House. And so she allowed and shared the information and really taught me the self-publishing steps and what I need to do, connected me with internal layout, book, graphic book designers. And so it was a lot of sharing information. So what you see me doing now, helping other writers, is I want to be what I didn't have back in 2005. Like I said, Amazon was not allowed, it wasn't accessible. You couldn't just do it yourself. Self-publishing like we know it today was not back then. It was very difficult to get a book published and even get it on Amazon if you were self-published. And so what I would tell that aspiring writer to do is, first of all, link up with not only people who have written books, but also people who are book coaches, book consultants, publishing coaches. Reach out to them. Know that it's going to be an investment of time, money to my melanin people. You've got to pay us, okay? Because you pay Dillard's, Macy's, Von Maur without question, okay?
Come on and tell the
us.
truth.
You see what I'm saying?
I want to slow you down right there, because I think this is an important place, right? Because one thing that I think is important is that what I heard you say is, I had a message, I had a word, but I invested in myself. And there's something to that process of saying, I might be able to do well on my own, but I want to raise the bar past that. I want to work with somebody else. And yes, I'm putting some money in their pocket, but they're then going to invest their time and energy into me so that my truest value can come out. Can we talk a little bit about the beauty of people investing in themselves, whether they're investing in coaching, whether they're investing in, I know you're a big mental health person, they're investing in therapy. Yes. What is the beauty of a person investing themselves? And then you can also, of course, talk to maybe our chocolate brothers and sisters who don't always hear the positivity of investing in yourself, even within our community.
Absolutely. The joy of investing in yourself. First of all, I was blessed to have parents always invested, showed me how to invest in myself. They invested in us. I went to Catholic school 1 through 12 because I'm the child. I was very shy and I could not handle public school. My parents knew that. So they invested. Now, this is the 70s, 80s, in paying for me to go to school, paying for me to have, Lord, what lessons didn't I take? Piano, guitar, ballet, modeling. So that came naturally to me when I wanted to do something that I needed help on. But if you didn't come from a background like that, you've got to change, again, your narrative. You may not know where to start, but social media is the thing. You could just make a post in search of this. Now, do your research. Do your research. Don't just, because I've gotten burnt trying to get my money back from a publicist right now. Yes, we'll talk about that. Yes, okay to sue somebody. Goodness. Okay, yes. But invest in yourself. YouTube University is good to a point. But then once you learn everything, it is very imperative that you invest your time and your money with someone who is credentialed in what they're doing. Don't just go to somebody who you like, who you think is going to tell you what you want to hear. No, that's not beneficial. You go to somebody who is proven in what they have done. They got results. They got people following them. They know their stuff. And what you're going to get is $1 million information on a budget. Because the information I got from Valerie Burton, who was my first coach, writing coach, was invaluable. I still remember our sessions to this day. And not only did she help me with my writing, because, I didn't see anybody like me who wanted to write a book. Didn't see that. Even in the church, didn't see that. And so what she showed me was a world outside of my little world.
What does that mean? What does that mean? Showed you a world outside of your world.
So I'm thinking, I've never seen a Black author in my city, in my state, a Black woman author at that. But Valerie Burton, she was a Black author. With a reputable traditional publishing company. She had a circle of Black authors that she connected me with. Look at back then, like I said, it wasn't social media, it was Yahoo groups. It was Yahoo groups. They had a lot of writers' retreats. Didn't know it was a writers' retreat for Black Christian authors. Didn't know that until I knew it. Somebody told me about it. So when she showed me a world outside of my world, I got excited. I got even more thirsty. And then I believed that it was possible. Oh,
I want to stay there. I don't want to rush. I don't want to rush. I want to be right here. You know what I mean? Because this is where people get fruit, right? I'm thinking of so many individuals, even in business, right? Black, white, green, yellow, purple. You're doing business as usual because you're doing what you've seen. Or you're raising your babies based on what you've seen, right? And what you're saying is that when you started to invest in yourself, and I'm not just talking about book writing, I'm talking about seeing that your dream is worthy of investment, that your vision or your goal is worthy of investment. You suddenly have I guess you could say, the curtain pulled back on the possibilities of what could be. You saw people who look like you, who don't think like you. They think beyond where you're thinking, or their inspiration is beyond where it is today. And I think, so many of my friends, Jason being one of them, we've found ourselves starting to look more and more into these opportunities of, can we get into masterminds? Can we get into classes? Can we get into groups full of people who are either like-minded thinking or so forward thinking that they will propel me forward? Can you speak to, why do people need to find the courage to experience people in life beyond what they've walked in and seen themselves? Why do we need to do that?
Because if you don't, you will become stagnant. And I always give this illustration about being stagnant. It's like a puddle of water. I grew up in a house that had a basement, and before we was on sewers, we was on I forgot, septic tank. So when it rained really hard in the basement, water would come in the basement, and if it stayed there for too long, it would start to what? Stink.
Start to stink.
Because water is meant to flow, right? Not just stay in a certain place.
You're preaching now.
And so when we do not find the courage to get out of our comfort zone, to go to conferences, to go to retreats, to pay to get out of your city, and don't just surround yourself with people that are like-minded, that's the easy part, like-minded, but if you're all in the same city and y'all pulling from the same customer base, pretty soon that's going to, get old and people are not going to come. So you've got to go and find people who you don't know to bond with. And so that's what it is. If you don't find the courage, you become stagnant, like a puddle of water, and after a while starts to stink. And if it stays there, it don't just stink. What does happen? Mold starts to come on the floor. So you don't want that. You've got to grow. You've got to get away. And I don't want to hear this about I don't have any coins to do so, because this year, the biggest concert ever in the world was Beyonce. And those tickets were not cheap. But I saw a whole lot of us.
We found a way.
Found a way, not just for the tickets, but y'all had some cute, sparkly outfits as well.
It wasn't Sunday's best either. It was Tuesdays. It was Wednesday's best.
It's Monday's best, Tuesday's best. Beyonce was all throughout the week. Now, I'm not saying that you don't, because I'm a big New Edition fan. There is no budget when it comes to them going on tour. But
Candy girl.
That's just me. Listen, don't start. I know all of it. But what I'm saying is, I also invest in myself. And when you take your money, I got a saying, people cherish more what they pay for. Let me tell you again. People cherish more what they pay for.
What's
And
that
so
mean to you?
if you're paying $500 for some coaching, don't you think you're going to do what that coach says? Absolutely. That's $500. And that's on the low end. Great coaches cost thousands of dollars.
Absolutely.
So you live in your budget. But also what you don't know, when you're investing in yourself through coaching, through trainings, through conferences, that is considered a business expense that you can take off your taxes. Travel, hotels, if you're going there, all of that you put into one is a business expense. So yes, you're investing in yourself, but also you are creating a business of you. And so you can take that off your taxes as well and get deductions. But you wouldn't know that until you get out of your comfort zone and find the courage to be around people who can share this information with you.
Cut.
Okay, that's a wrap.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your boy, Jody Eric Matthews, the director of King of the Block. And I just want to say, if it's Monday, I'm watching Hope Rising with Maurice F.
All right, so I'm going to start out with the great Langston Hughes. He said, life for me ain't been no crystal stair.
Come on.
When I started doing that, life was not a crystal stair. First of all, in 2005, my mama died in March 23rd, 2005. And so I started writing professionally. Back then, it wasn't called blogs. It was called e-newsletters, December 2005. Now, between March and December, I had hired Valerie Burton, because even though I'm grieving, now my dad died in 96, my mom was gone in 2005. Me and my siblings were like, we orphans. What's we gonna do? What is we gonna do? But whatever is instilled in you will come out when you think.
Ooh, say that one more time.
Whatever is instilled in you will come out when you say, Lord, I can't do this. What you want me to do? What? Lord, let me just grieve the loss of my mama. I just want to sit here from March until whenever I decide to get up and grieve the loss of my mama. He said no. He will put a fire, a constant spirit and talking like, no, I need you to do this. And so what was happening was writing became my therapy.
I need you to go right to that place, because there's somebody listening and they're like, I ain't ever heard, felt, seen a pull from the Lord. Describe that, because maybe, just maybe, Tanya, there is somebody listening today and the Lord has been pulling them or pushing them in a direction, but they don't know that that's what they're feeling.
Yes.
Can you describe that feeling and what do you do with that? Sometimes we breeze past those moments, but those are the moments when God shows you he's God.
When God shows you he's God, he will not allow what he's telling you to escape you. So I heard from March until I decided to reach out to Valerie Burton, which was probably September of 2005, about writing.
In prayer. You mean you heard it in prayer? Is that what you mean? In
prayer, from, my church. When I would go to church, somehow the pastor would say something about writing. I'm like, dude, what are you talking about?
Why are you in my business?
Church, right? Ain't nobody in this church ever talked about being a writer. But you didn't say something after Holy Spirit. So heard it at church, heard it in. I watched, that's when BET had sermons and pastors on. And so it was T.D. Jakes, Creflo Dollar, some other good ones. And it was like, why y'all keep talking about writing a book, writing this, doing something different? And so you start to really, this is not a coincidence. So if you're thinking that what you're hearing, what you're seeing, and it's exactly what God is telling you to do, that's the pulling. Because he will not let it go. He will bring the message to you in however he wants you to hear it, and wherever he wants you to hear it. And so it's up to you. Now he gives us that permission to obey or not. But You will know when it's God pulling you. You will absolutely know when it's him, because it's like, I can't get enough of it. Just like Macaulay Culkin. Oh, stop it. I don't want to hear no more. And so that's what the pulling is. It is exactly that. And so when you have that, you can surrender or you can be stubborn. And trust me, you want to surrender, because in your stubbornness is going to bring an unnecessary storm to go
what
back
does that mean?
to what you should
What does
surrender
that
to
mean?
anyway.
What storm are we talking about here?
Oh Lord, you want me to go on and do my little Christian Bible study?
Well,
we talking about Jonah, Jonah in the belly of the whale. You will get into some well over situations, and you be like, "Why am I here, Lord?" And the Lord will tell you, "Oh, because I told you to go this way, but you went this way. But I'm using this whale situation to bring you back to where I wanted you to be. You the one that put yourself in the whale situation, because I told you over here what I wanted you to do, but you were stubborn. So now, because my will will come to pass."
People call those moments coincidences. That's the problem, right? What happened is God will start to, he drops these bombs on you where he just keeps, go this way. And then you go, well, maybe that was just me. And he goes, no, really, go this way. And you're like, that must have been another coincidence. And all these random things keep happening. A person here and a conversation there. And we will call those moments coincidences. And Jason, I know that you and I have talked about this outside of here before, right? That sometimes we coincidence away the blessings of God because we say, I wish God would make it clear. I wish God would make it obvious. And he has, and he is. Are you paying attention?
Yeah. He like, I done told you. I'm God. I'm going to tell you, my voice. You know my voice. It's just like your parents. You know what I said. I know when I was young, teenage, and when my daddy said, I will be there to pick you up at 10 o'clock. If you're not outside, I'm coming in there to get you. I knew he meant what he said. But it's this one time I was trying to be grown because I had my little boyfriend. See what I'm saying? I was 16, He was like 18. So I'm just smelling myself, right? My friend was like, T, we better come. Your daddy said I was like, he'll wait. Because, I'm 16 now. I'm smelling myself because my boyfriend's 18. When my daddy said, if you're not outside, I'm not coming there and get you. It only took one time for him to come in there and get me. Now, I'm sitting there cute, right, Maurice? I'm 16. My boyfriend's 18. I'm just sitting on his lap, right? Trying to be cute, trying to be grown. My friend said, T, there's your daddy. I was like, girl, my daddy ain't in here. I'm looking at my watch. I said, oh, my goodness. I turned around. All he did was say, come on. Because I knew what he meant. He didn't do no grandiose thing. He didn't go. He said, come on. What did I do then?
You came on real quick.
I came on and didn't do that no more.
I bet you didn't.
But the sweetest thing is like my dad, God will, even when we disobey him and we're doing stuff that we ain't supposed to. My daddy was my daddy. I was his daughter. When he said, come on, he had to come. He had to go out, get out of his car, come get me. But he didn't chastise me. I don't even think I got in trouble. He just said, I thought I told you to be out here. I was like, yeah, Daddy. He didn't ask me about that boyfriend that he ain't never met, whose lap I was sitting. He didn't ask me that. But I knew that he was disappointed. I knew that I did something that I wasn't supposed to be doing. But I didn't do it again. And we know what we're supposed to do. We just have to humble ourselves when we're wrong.
Yes.
And say, okay, I heard you, Daddy. I ain't even gonna do that no more.
Well, that's true humility mixed and paired with accountability, right? Because humility says, first and foremost, I realize I'm not God, right? I understand that somebody greater than me is looking out for me And I need to lower myself before them that they can guide me in the right direction. But it's that mixed with accountability. One of the things I love about that story is that being around a godly man shows the true character of God for a little girl, right?
Absolutely.
Many people that I meet who are on the, I'll call it the fringes of faith, they are convinced that when they hear from God or when they interact with God, he will be this mean and angry and cruel God. But God is actually the one who just walks in and says, come on, let's go. He don't feel the need to cuss you out, beat you down. He's not going to do anything but get you to safety as quickly as possible and then inspire you to change, to turn away from where you were. That's the true definition of repentance, a turning away. There's an accountability that comes when you walk with God, where he says, I'm not going to beat you up, but I do expect you to change. And I think that what a beautiful experience that you had a chance to spend that time with your father. And what's interesting, because I kind of know where the story goes, right? So we know that you go from this experience in your life of, the fears and the doubts and all these things, and you write your first book, and then another, and then another, and then another, and it begins to roll. And you eventually reach a point in your career where not only are you having some success in your business world, but you begin to have a beautiful world of success in your personal life, where you meet another godly man who is very similar to your father. Can you tell us a little bit about that journey?
Lord have mercy. Yes. I've always been attracted to men who not only look like my daddy, but have the demeanor of my daddy. And the relationships that meant something to me were the ones that were protected. And that's why it's so important, fathers out there. I don't care if you're not with the mother. You need to be in your child's life, both sons and daughters. Because my brother would even tell you, my dad died when he was 13. I was 25 when daddy died. But daddy died when, because he's the youngest, 13. And he'll tell you to this day, daddy taught me more in 13 years than some of my friends whose fathers are still living, because he was just that kind of dad. He was very involved. He loved his family, and we never understood this, but we always ate dinner together. Why? Because he grew up not having a family to eat dinner with, because his mother had multiple children by multiple men, but his dream was to create a family that he could have dinner with. So when the Cosby Show came on, I was already a Cosby kid, and I didn't even know that I was God. I was a white child. I was Joe and Umar Whites. Everything that the Cosby kids were doing, that was our family. And so when it was time, like when my dad died, I was devastated, but my mom was there to help. And then it was easy transition to lean on God, because I had an earthly father who showed me what love was, showed me what protection was. And so that was easy to transition. I didn't say I didn't hurt, but the transition was easy. So as I'm growing and going, so God bless me after 49 years. Let me say that again, 49 years of praying for a godly man who I that was the first one that I wanted to marry, and we was going to get married. So sisters out there, it's never too late. We started dating a month before the pandemic shut the world down. And so our relationship was unique, because when the world shut down, you couldn't do the superficial things that you do in dating, go out to dinner, go to concerts. We were in each other's face. Boom. We were on Zoom dates. Boom. We were having conversations that took people 8 to 9 months to have. We were doing it in 2 months, because what else we gonna do in the pandemic? We gonna get to know each other. But God knew what he was doing when he brought us together. We both were on the same page. Let me say that. We were on the same page when it came to relationships. I was going to turn 50. He was going to turn 58. So it's a different world when you dating after a certain age too. You don't got time to play. You ain't got time to do that. Very gentleman, very protective, very loving. And so we dated for 16 months, and I finally moved where he was. He lived in Indianapolis and I was in Louisville. I moved there because we was going to get married. The week I moved there, had to take him to the hospital, and the doctor said his cancer came back and inoperable, and gave him 6 months to a year to live. Whoo, you talking about us being mad at God and saying, God, what are you doing? You know? But sadly, again, he died in 6 weeks. But even in his death, in his transition, I still know that there's purpose in our relationship. He even told me, you know, before he died that, you know, I'm sorry, we won't get married, but I don't want you to give up on love. You were going to make somebody a great wife, and I want you to date again. And he was so funny. He was like, "Well, don't date too soon."
I know that's right. Make sure you miss me for a minute.
Yes. So it was like he was giving me his blessing. Even when he was, I think it was the weekend before he died, he called my brother and talked to my brother about his illness and reassured my brother, because my brother is the patriarch of the family, and reassured him that even though he was sick and I was one of his caretakers, that he was still taking care of me, that my brother did not have to worry about me, and feel free to call him, but just know that I'm taking care of her, even in my sickness. So even in that, I was like, Lord, look, me and you got to talk. But it showed me that love comes from God when God really wants it to come. Because I had relationships that I tried to make shift and try to say this was from the Lord. It wasn't no bit from the Lord.
Tried to convince myself.
Yeah. But when, again, I go back, you will know it is from God, because it will line up with God's character and his spirit. And I'm not saying that you won't have tough times, but I think we only argued about 3 times in our whole 16 months, because, and those are 3, we was like trying to get to know each other. And you have to surrender some of the things that you're used to, because some of the things you were used to, it was like, why do I need these things in my life? It's not working. It's not even who I am anymore. So you have to take a whole reevaluation. You have to talk. But God will send you what he wants for you. And like the song says, life is filled with swift transitions, and those transitions will come, and you have to go with the Lord. And so that's what I did. It was hurtful, but I understood that we came together at a time that God wanted us to come together. He wanted us to gel so closely together, because we didn't think 16 months later he was going to be in heaven. But I want to say, even on the top, when, like you said, Maurice, I was growing in my business, I was growing in my relationship. I mean, life was good, but things do happen. Grief comes unexpectedly, and it's part of the life cycle. We all have an expiration date. We don't know, but that's why you have to live life to the fullest each and every day. Like, live life of God, live life of love, live life of laughter, and respect the people who are in your life.
Yeah, that is a beautiful thing. Sometimes when we deal with life, it matures us, it grows us, it stretches us, it changes us. And the crazy thing is, since then, I know we're another 3 books in now since then. And I know that right after that, the Lord put the book into your spirit, the battle. What is it? The battle behind my smile, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that was one that I know was not the most fun book, and yet one of the most important books that you've written. And so I guess my questions, and I don't want to take up too much of your time, and I know we're getting there, is somehow you went from grieving, writing some books where you really poured heart and soul out there, to now you are at a place where you are beginning to stand for others and champion others and fight against systems for others. The most recent book that you've written, which is one that is charged in so many ways, professionally lynched, where you've now unveiled, this is some things that have happened to me in my career. There are some times in my journey when things weren't right and things weren't fair, and I had to keep my mouth shut. But now enough is enough, not just for me, but for we. Can you talk a little bit about that journey of getting there?
Oh my God. Another. Life ain't been no crystal stair, y'all. To never judge a book by its cover. Professionally Lynched is my personal journey that took place after I got a seat at the administrator table as a public school educator. Now, for 13 years, I was a teacher, a special ed teacher. But when I got a seat at the table and saw how the systems were, very unbalanced for our Black and brown students and our Black and brown parents. And I've always spoken up. Again, my parents taught me. I'm that person, like, why? Why is this going on? Why? You just can't tell me, oh, this is because I said so. Why? Why is this? And so when unfair treatment occurs with students, teachers, parents, it impacts everybody. And so if you're wondering why public school education is in such a disarray, you got to take a deeper look. It's in a disarray because the systems are unjust, unfair, and it is all about whoever is sitting in that leadership seat, whatever their vision is. Sadly, no one cares about our future anymore. I grew up in a time where the children are the future, and they taught us to be better citizens, better thinkers, better everything, because the world needed us. Now it's a prison to the pipeline, not just for students, but for parents. It's a prison for staff. And so Professionally Lynched was uncovering things that actually happened to me and other Black women that I interviewed who went through the same thing. And it was a very rough story to finally write. But when, like again, I say, when it's time to write something. And it was just time, because I was sitting in the Indiana Black Expo, again, downtrodden, thinking, oh, I'm the only one dealing with this. And then I hear author Angel G. Henry talk about she called it workplace bullying. And she was a executive in information technology, somewhere thousands of miles away from me. And when she's reading the excerpt from her book, I was like, oh my God, she's finally given me the language and permission to talk about injustice in the workplace. And so I literally left that workshop in July 15th, 2022. I had the cover in my mind the next week, and I started writing Professionally Lynched then, and it came out May of 2023. And so yes, the title alone is like, woo, why is she talking about lynching? Because no, they're not lynching us from trees. They have come up with, and they is the system, is the establishment that tries to suppress and oppress people. They have come up with a crafty way to keep our mouths shut, and that is in the workplace, because they know that people need their jobs. They know that they have a chokehold on people. But when we break free of that hold, it's the truth does set you free. And you can deny it if you want to, but truth is truth. And you can't, I don't care what system or what people say no, they'll try to say no, they're angry or they just hard. No, it's the truth.
Speak to
and
that a
you
little
need to
bit more.
start speaking
There's
truth.
someone listening to you right now, and they're saying, "Listen, I'm involved in the education system. Or I've been around the education system, or I sent children into the education system." And they say, "Miss Tanya, it sounds like you're just, what is the word they used to use back in the day? You're a rabble rouser. You're just seeing the
Oh, yeah,
negative. You're seeing the
that
negative
I
in
am.
things, right?"
Because when it comes to children, I am a rebel rouser. When it comes to children, and I write this in the book, one of the things that I saw as an administrator is, and parents don't know this is happening. That's why I encourage parents to get involved in their schools through PTA, SBDM, or just showing up, volunteering, having lunch with your children. One of the instances when it was three male students, one black, one mixed, and one white student got into a fight. And the behavior coach at that time, who was white, had this restorative justice program where she said, we're going to give them activities to get them back in the classroom. Where one of the activities was, they could clean up, they could do errands or something to reflect on what they did. Well, this particular day, these are first graders, males, one black, one mixed, one white. She had them clean up the boys' bathroom. First of all, I was shocked. Second of all, the Caucasian boy said he wasn't going to do it, called his parents. The mixed boy said the same thing. I'm not cleaning no bathroom. The little black boy, because he didn't want them to call his parents, he wanted to turn around his day, did it. And so he had a relationship with me. So at the end of the school day, he's like, "Miss White, I had a bad day. I turned it around. I cleaned up the boys' bathroom. I even cleaned up the brown stuff off the wall." I said, "Excuse me?" I said, "What you say, baby?" I said, What did you say?" "Yeah, Miss Such and Such told me if I in order for me to turn my day around, I had to do that because I got into a fight. But such and such, they didn't do it because they said they wouldn't clean no bathroom and they went home. But I did it because I turned my day around." I said, "Great job, baby." And then I went to call his grandmother because I knew her personally and told her what happened. I sure did. Now, for you as a, I wouldn't want my child to clean no bathroom. I don't care how bad the day went. Two, if all of them didn't do something that you wanted to do, why did you have the little black boy continue to do that? Absolutely not. So I called the grandmother and told her exactly what happened, told her exactly what to do, to call the board, tell them this was unfair. I didn't care that, I know the board is going to ask who told you. You can tell them my name. But no, you're not going to continue to allow these things to happen to our black children, our students, period, because you're coming up with restorative justice behind the thing. And so basically, principals can do whatever they want to do if they have the language for it. And parents have the power, but they don't know what power they have until somebody empowers them, like this rebel rouser right here, to what's really going on. And so I encourage you to, parents, you get involved with if you don't like something, go to the board meeting. I'm not saying it's going to change immediately, but I'm saying your voice, your presence has power. That has power because they're banking on the fact that you don't know what's going on and they can do what they want to do. That's just one incident. There are tons other that I've had, and I share some others in the book. But yeah, so enough is enough. I saw enough, and I was targeted because I spoke up against systems who wanted to do what they wanted to do and treat students and parents the way they wanted to. You're not going to do that.
And so now you are truly through this book, and again, just through the way you move in life, you are empowering people to understand that not only is your voice powerful and beautiful and amazing and God-given, that a voice is necessary. And so, and one thing that I want to do, Tanya, is I want to purchase a copy of the book for us to give away. And so what we'll do during this episode, if somebody is like, "You know what, I want to read about this. I want to learn more about some of not only Tanya's experiences, but the people that she sat down with and interviewed and some of the issues that she's seen and that they've seen and raised. I want this book." go ahead and email jason@ewtproductions.com. If you are the first one to send that email, we will go ahead and say, hey, I want the book. Leave your address. And if you're the first one, we will make sure we respond and say congratulations, and we'll get that book over. As we begin to wrap, I guess where I want to end things is this, Tanya, and of course I have one last question that I'll get to, but you have spent so much time empowering people, changing systems, shifting the course of things. I know you even have another book you're working on because you are doing so much when it comes to leadership, and you are constantly speaking life into leaders, changing lives of leaders, empowering leaders. There is a leader that is listening today, and they've been working hard, but they've been feeling burned out, beat up, stressed out, frustrated, confused, and they need some hope infused into their life. What do you say to that leader?
I say to that leader, first of all, we lead the way we live. Let me say it again. We lead the way we live. So if your life is not stressed out, your professional life should not be stressed out. What I mean by that, not that you're not going to experience stress, but you got to find your happy place. First of all, you got to reevaluate, am I supposed to still be here? If so, God, give me the strength, give me the power to endure. If you're not supposed to be there, get the courage to send your resume out and find another venue. Because that sometimes we stay too long in what we think is our assignment, and it's no longer our assignment anymore. So really be honest with yourself.
Sometimes your assignment has an expiration date.
Yes, it does. It does. And so we lead the way we live. I am living my life now really with freedom, with love, and with laughter. And so that's what I take to my job. And I have a new job now, and that's what I'm doing. Yes, it's not what I want to do, but it's what I'm supposed to be doing right now. To redirect my path for my next. I took 2 years off after Stefan died. And so this is my re-entry into the workforce. And so it is teaching me, first of all, I no longer have to walk on eggshells with an unhealthy environment or unhealthy toxic leaders. I will continue to speak my mind with humility, with authority in God, and we can agree to disagree, and that is fine. I am assigned to be an encourager and empower and a resource type of person. And that's what I'm going to do for everybody. So again, we lead the way we live. So if you're struggling in your leadership, I will guarantee you're struggling in your life. And you got to be honest about what's going on in your life that is falling in or making you not the best person you should be. Because when you're the best person that you should be, you're going to be the best leader that you should be. And so examine your life. We lead the way we live.
We lead the way we live. That is so unbelievably true. And yet, it seems like that kind of a statement is really countercultural, because what people have often been taught is that you are supposed to lead from a place of, you lead with a mask, you live without it. That's what they think, right? So people tend to stand in front of the congregation, stand in front of the employee, and they wear the badge of honor, the cloak of invincibility, the fake strength, the huge masculinity. You figure it out, right? And so they stand before you pretending to be perfect, and then they go home and are unraveled. And what would happen if people began to lead with true authenticity, right? Where I said, I'm looking to have integrity in front of the workforce and behind the workforce, right? And at home and at work, I'm going to learn how to bring me to the table. Yes, certainly people get different variations of me. Not everybody gets the exact same version of me as my wife, right? But there is something to be said for the consistency of authenticity.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. And we can't, it's too much. It's too much to live in a mask. I mean, I think that's one of the supernatural lessons that God taught us with the pandemic, with we having to wear masks. Masks are uncomfortable. You can't breathe in them sometimes. And so when we're living our life under camouflage and trying to mask who we are, you can't breathe. You cannot be your best self, and people cannot see you for who you are. And so that's one thing uh, that leaders need to stop doing. Stop compartmentalizing who they are. I know when I first started teaching, they said, don't smile at your students because then they'll think that you're weak. I said, no, because in my upbringing and education, all my teachers were smiling and loving and embraced me. And so that's how I grew up. No, I'm not going to be, now they're going to know that Miss White, they found out real soon, Miss White don't play. But Miss White don't play, but Miss White loves you. We're going to work in here, and I'm preparing you for life. But I'm going to smile every time I see you and lay hands on you because they ain't know I had anointing oil on my hands. Patting everybody. Because I don't know, they came from, they need some peace. So, yes. So, you got to, change the narrative. Be you. We lead the way we live.
Well, you have lived and led today's conversation with all of the characteristics I talked about before we started: the humility, the grace, the class, and of course the effervescence that is the full expression of Tanya White. And if you guys have enjoyed this conversation, please do me a favor: leave the comments, leave your thoughts, leave your follow-up questions. If you got something, I'm sure she'll swing back and answer them if need be. Make sure you guys are finding her. We'll make sure that there's links within the description. So if you want to find her radio broadcast over in Kentucky, if you want to find her podcast and hear some of the extraordinary interviews she's done, and I promise you want to hear some of the extraordinary interviews she's done, you'll have the opportunity to do that as well. Tanya, I have one final question for you, and this I don't know if you remember this from the first time we filmed or not, but this is the $1 billion question. So I want you to imagine that it is 100 years from now, and there is a museum, and it is a museum of society and culture, and it is all of the greatest things of this era of time. And someone walks into the museum, and inside of the museum there is a room marked hope. Inside that room, there's a time capsule. And in that time capsule, there's a specific time capsule based on Tanya White. It's all at that point, 20, 30 something books that you have by the time it's all done. And you in front of your DJ mic as a radio host, and a picture of you and your honey bear and you and family. And just, it's the true expression of who you are as a person. And then they pick up a tablet, and on that tablet, there is this clip from this recording where you explain to them what hope is. And I want you to give hope to a person who's watching 100 years from now, who truly needs to be uplifted when it comes to the area of hope.
Yes. Wow. Awesome question. Hope. And how can I explain this? Because it's so many things. But hope, first of all, is a true belief in God, in all his godness. The loving God, the protector, the provider, the vindicator, the physician. That's hope. Everything who God is. Then hope is also us moving in faith on our hope in God. No matter what comes, death, disappointment, divorce, devastation, division. After all that, there's still hope, because if we up and we're moving to live another day, that means God has something else for us to do. And hope on the third realm is also love. Love is hope. Loving yourself, loving God, loving your family, loving your life to the fullest. And so I would say the hope is three parts: God, you, and then love. Just God, you, and love. And when you have that, you can conquer anything. Conquer anything. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be quick, but you can and you will conquer things when you have hope in God, have hope in yourself, and love. And that's what I would say.
And what you would say touched my heart, and I'm quite sure touched our listeners as well. You are the most beautiful expression of what God can do in a life, but you are also, this is what I want to leave it with, you are the ultimate expression of the power of legacy. Sometimes when we hear about legacy, it's told through the lens of a person hustling for their legacy. But you are the expression of daddy's legacy,
yes,
and mama's legacy.
Yes.
And then the words that you're writing, you're empowering all, because we didn't even talk about all the different writers that you help publish. And it's like you are literally a mouthpiece for those who came before you, and a standing board or a leaping board, jumping board for those who are coming after you. And yet you are standing in the fullness of who God made you. Yes. When I think of you, I think of legacy. And so, yes, just thank you
that
for.
That is my life.
Come on.
See, you're a prophet. Yes, my legacy. My next is all of my nieces and nephews. They will write a book in the next 2 years.
Come on.
And they will write it with me. I'm starting with my nieces. Because y'all know y'all boys, when you say write a book, what?
Yeah, we get a little squirrely.
Them. But my nieces, both my 17-year-old and my 10-year-old niece, are going to write books next year, and I'm going to help them. And that's all because of the legacy that I want to continue. And you put it so right. I am living the legacy of not only my parents, but their parents and their parents and their parents. And so that's who I am. That's why we cousins.
That's it. And to all of my cousins who are listening, whether you are watching today on YouTube or you are listening wherever you listen to podcasts, we appreciate you, and we hope that you take from this conversation that you are someone's legacy. You are not only establishing a legacy within the years that God has given you, but you are the expression of the legacy of someone who came before you. What will you do with this time? How will you make this time count? And my hope for you is that you understand that every day that you've been given is truly a gift. And we look forward to unveiling another gift next Monday on Hope Rising, where the unfulfilled go for fulfillment and the uninspired go for inspiration. We'll talk to you next Monday. See you guys soon.